Hello, Anthony.
Hello, Claudine.
We're here today to talk about common issues that U.S. persons living in Switzerland may encounter or Swiss people living in the United States may encounter. Now, there is a tax treaty between the United States and Switzerland. Pretty average tax treaty.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a savings clause which undoes a lot of things. So you always have to look to see if you need to apply the foreign tax credit or foreign income exclusion if you are living in Switzerland.
Okay, now some of the top issues we see, tax evasion.
That's right. Switzerland is ground zero for tax evasion. It's hard to ignore it. The Department of Justice has been working with Switzerland and a lot of the banks to get the names of people. They basically have kind of everybody, and they're sort of taking their time getting to people. I know a lot of people haven't been contacted, and a lot of people haven't necessarily done anything intentional. But unfortunately, the assumption, it seems, is that if you do have a Swiss bank account, there's no legitimate reason for it other than tax evasion, which is really the closest thing to the truth. The first reason why is our clients tend to be other than U.S. citizens. They do business around the world, and Switzerland's just a business center. It's very common to do that. And it's also very common for a shell company in Switzerland to be opened up just as a matter of course. It has nothing to do with tax evasion. It's just how business is done.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the past couple of years, we've seen lists of quote-unquote blacklisted banks.
Yep.
What's that about?
Well, the blacklisted banks are banks that have agreed to cooperate with the IRS, and if you come clean with the OVDP process, you have to pay a 50% penalty. I would say this is sort of a huge area of misunderstanding and people being scared into doing the wrong thing. You actually don't have to. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to enter into that full OVDP program and pay that 50% penalty. There's a lot of people we help avoid that. There's ways to do it legitimately that are completely fine. And this is really, understanding the rules and applying them correctly. You can avoid a whole bunch of hassle.
Yep. Another issue is inheritance of bank accounts.
Yep. Now, what does happen sometimes is maybe children inherit a bank account from their parents who may have been committing a tax evasion, and maybe not with the U.S., but maybe with France. Very common to open a bank account in Switzerland to avoid the French taxing authority, so that the children are now taking this account and they don't know what to do about it. They don't, I inherited an account. Okay, well, I didn't know there's worldwide taxation. I didn't know I had to pay taxes. I didn't do anything illegal. Really didn't. And those are cases that require special attention because the IRS is going to assume, you can imagine that revenue agent to say, you inherited this account. They're going to really look for ways to really bend and twist the facts to try to impute a level of malfeasance to the children, which simply isn't there. So it's something that we see, and we always want to be proactive about it and get ahead of it. So that we're not reacting. And unfortunately, this has happened to quite a few people I've talked to where they are paying for the sins of their parents. And it's very unfortunate. It's stuff that all could be avoided.
Yep. Now, you said there's 3 tiers of Swiss pensions. What does that mean?
Well, if you are working in Switzerland, you're probably getting some sort of Swiss pension, and there's 3 different tiers. Now, there's a tax treaty, but it really doesn't help you out in this case all that much, except with kind of the first tier. The first tier is basically a Social Security type of thing, and it's not really much of an issue for U.S. tax compliance. And under tier 2, it gets a little harder, a little more additional things to do. Now, with tier 3, it's sort of like a self-funded 401k. There, your tax work gets incredibly complicated. We have additional forms to file, and if they're not filed, there's significant penalties. It's really something that I wish didn't exist. I wish the treaty could actually help people in Switzerland with. And the other thing with Switzerland is if you're working in Switzerland, the chances of you staying in Switzerland, are remote. You may live in Italy, work in Switzerland. You may live in France, work in Switzerland. Okay. Switzerland is an international country, very much so. And that's the other part with our clients who, even U.S. people who invest in Switzerland, there tends to be a lot of other things around the world. So you just can't know about Swiss U.S. law. You need to know about all these other countries and all their unique type of investments and how to get those to comply with the U.S. tax code.
Okay, lastly, what's the issue with Swiss life insurance?
Well, Swiss life insurance is just like most foreign life insurance. It's not technically life insurance for tax purposes. It's really treated as an investment, which will require additional reporting. And you have to report the income it earns every year, which is a little nasty surprise where you think, well, life insurance is a tax shelter. You put it there. You don't have to pay any taxes on it ever. Borrow from the death benefit and you're fine. True, if you're a U.S. policy. Not a U.S. policy, they typically don't meet the definition of a U.S. life insurance policy. Some rare exceptions out there where some companies have gone through all the trouble to get their life insurance approved as to the U.S. tax code as a life insurance policy, but most of the time it's not. It's just sort of bad news.
So
all
even
around.
if it's called the life insurance policy, it may not be.
It might not be a life insurance
U.S.
policy.
life.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know. All right, well, if you have any of these issues, don't hesitate to contact us. We have U.S. citizens that are living in Switzerland and around the world, and also Swiss people living in the United States as clients. So we can help at 888-727-8796. You can also email info@irsmedic.com, and any information you share with us will be kept confidential. Thanks for watching.